Okay, how about we close on our favorite topic of disagreement, which is Trump and Biden. Not that I'm a Trump supporter. I don't want anyone to get me wrong out here, but I have on occasion been a Trump defender in conversation with John McWhorter, and you could just go into the archives and see. But the question has arisen as to whether or not there should be a debate. It is obvious that Trump is going to be the Republican nominee, Biden's going to be the Democratic nominee. We're going to have a presidential election in November. And typically, there are debates organized between the major contending candidates. And how do you react to the question of whether or not there should be debates? Or at least one.
If the debates are supposed to be about the issues, if we're dealing with, say, Nixon versus Kennedy, which candidate has the most attractive ideas to you about the issues? And maybe to an extent, which candidate is mentally alert in a way that he is good at parrying what the other person says. In other words, a debate. Now, there's always some showbiz involved. The Nixon-Kennedy debates being, a classic example of how you thought Nixon won. If you just heard it, you thought Kennedy won.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be some of that, sure. But
because Nixon was sweating.
Yeah, and less handsome, but he's sweating. He didn't have the right makeup. But in this case, and I guess I'm going to seem like I'm beating a dead horse, but I genuinely feel Trump is not capable of engaging in what we would call a debate. I don't mean that he's too stupid to, well, yes, yeah. I do, but I do think he's not smart enough to grasp the issues. But more to the point, he won't engage in debate in that way. All he's going to do is beat his chest and roar and do that thing that he does. He can't debate. So we can call it a debate, but all it'll be is Biden trying to make his points and the other person just roaring and screaming and ridiculing and name calling. That's not a debate. I would rather that Biden do some nice town halls by himself and Trump keep doing his rallies. Why bring them together? Especially given that the nature of things is such that it's going to sway so very, very few people. And yes, I'll admit that there's an extent, because the showbiz, that to the extent that anybody's swayed, it'll be by Trump because he's funny and a little more vital seeming at his age than Biden is. But mainly, Trump can't do the thing we call debate. All it'll be is a show. Why do it? I'm not sure I see the reason to put them on the same stage. But you do?
Well, I think that people are entitled to see their prospective presidents comport themselves in public in response to questions. And by the way, it's not just the two people there. They're also the journalists who are putting the questions to the candidates. The quote unquote debate does involve some back and forth, but it also involves some between with the journalist as intermediary between the candidate and the audience. Explain yourself. Explain yourself under pressure. Explain yourself when there's a rebuttal that's coming back at you from the other side. Tell me why what you believe is what it is that I should endorse. And so
But Trump can't do that.
Well, in which case,
he won't answer the question. He'll just roar and perform and call.
He will show himself to be, if that's what he does, precisely that, someone who doesn't answer the questions. We should have the opportunity to put the questions to him and to have him respond to the arguments that are made by the other side and vice versa. And if he doesn't do it, then he will have failed. I mean, we're back to this. You really don't trust the people to glean from such an encounter the messages that they should glean. You think that they're going to be duped or take it enough to affect
this
the outcome
razor
of an
thin
election.
Outcome that we have. Yeah. More to the point, though.
And it sounds, I mean, given that Biden is feeble, that State of the Union was forcefully delivered, but the general problem of Biden walking across the White House lawn to get to Marine One helicopter to take him someplace, and you have to hold your breath wondering whether he's going to stumble along the way, is a real problem.
I'm going to take such a drubbing in the comment section that I want to make it clear. My main reason for not wanting the debate is not that I'm worried that people would be swayed and that he would win, because I don't think people understand the issues, etc. I mean, let's face it. we've all always known that most people don't follow politics closely. That is true, but that's not my main reason. My main reason for it is just thinking Trump is incapable of answering questions. Trump is incapable of actual debate. What's the point? And then I find myself worried about how close the election is, et cetera. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I think we've exhausted the topic here. I was just going to say, in virtue of Biden's limitations associated with his age, it's very clear why his campaign would want to avoid debates, because they are a minefield for them. Something could go wrong. Anything could go wrong. And why take that risk? There's very little to gain, and there's a lot to lose. And it's also clear why Trump would want debates, because he wants to
overpower.
And show I'm the better man. I'm more vital. I'm faster on my feet. I'm whatever.
Yeah, when Biden wouldn't have the control that he had over the State of the Union speech, and he would be more likely to either slip and say something stupid, or severely misremember something, and then it would be endlessly played. You had to do this 3 times. Yeah, that's not something I've been thinking that hard about. But yeah, it would not be good for Biden.
I put it this way. If Biden gave more press conferences, I'd see less of a need for a debate. If he opened himself to spontaneously reacting to aggressive questioning from the public, the media are just our representatives, then I'd say, okay, that purpose has been served. We don't have to have a contest between these two candidates. But absent that, if he wants to campaign, so to speak, from his basement, yeah.
So you wouldn't think it was
I think the people are poorly served.
How would you feel about him doing 3 events of that kind, where he had to hold his own live for 2 hours, and he has to do that, say, every 2 weeks? Would that be a decent substitute for getting on stage with Trump?
Yeah, it would.
Now I think
from my point of view,
we've written a column. I think I'm going to do this.
Okay, you could just mention me in a footnote. I know they don't do footnotes on columns.
I will give
as my friend Glenn Loury in our wonderful podcast, The Glenn Show.
I will give you credit. Yep. Thank you.